But the interesting thing was 99% of their content was produced by bloggers, free. But it was sold for something like $320 million. And at the point of sale, the owner actually had a litigation suit put against her because she had a platform and she'd sold the platform with no distribution to the other investors, which were the bloggers. Now that to me is a perfect crystal example of effectively a 20th century architecture failing to know how to deal with a 21st century platform model. So that's just step one. London Zoo. Everyone loves London Zoo, right? That's great. It's charity, it's fantastic. But how about this? I tried to leave London Zoo, and the only way to get through out of London Zoo is through a pretty tacky Disneyfied shop, right, with a child. This is a charity. Why would a charity force me into a consumptive model when I'm a member and I pay their fees, but they've pushed me through a little tacky, well, it's a nice tacky shop, but it's a shop, right? To force my kid through that. Why? Because actually their trustees are bound by law to optimize the income for actually their social purpose, single purpose. They are single purpose vehicles, they are optimized by law to do that. And as soon as a consultant walks over and says, hey, you can make more money for your charitable outcomes, they pretty much have to do it in no uncertain terms. It's quite difficult. It takes strong leadership to defy those logics. But it isn't that interesting for me. This idea of single-purpose vehicles, whether it's profit or a single outcome, are part of the problem. We have to talk about ecosystems and ecosystem value in a much richer, complex way. I think finance is changing. And I think it's really, really interesting. So, and, you know, social impact bonds, social outcome investment, social investment, this isn't just about, and I think it's really important to realize this, that I don't think this is just philanthropy or, you know, oh God, don't we like this? I think it's actually capital starting to have to become intelligent. VCs are moving into this space, very smart VCs. I won't quote you this, but actually a very, very good VC in America basically turned around and said we were getting 40% returns, better than any private equity or working in the social space. 40%, better than private equity. It's not because they like this, they think it's philanthropy, they think this is the way forward. This is what the future will look like. And I think capital is starting to become smarter about what it means to actually invest long and invest into the social processes. And there's lots of innovation going on in here. It's worth keeping your eye on. I think architecture will have to become more fundamentally linked to social investment if it's going to become purposeful, as will many things. Point 3, management. Management and co-venturing. Increasingly, we talk about ourselves as a co-venturing organization. We actually venture into making things. Why? Because we realize that nobody knows what the future looks like. So you have to become a venturing partner with your partners. And I think that raises some really interesting challenges about what does servant leadership look like. And a lot of the role I think we try to play is servant leadership. But servant leadership, which is what platforms require, right? So you have to be quite dispassionate, you have to push from the behind, actually can be very easily destroyed. It's a fragile thing. Because all it takes is for somebody to want to take reputational gains by themselves, and servant leadership dies very quickly. So if someone wants to accrue reputational value, servant leadership diminishes and dies very, very quickly. So servant leadership is a very fragile thing, and I don't know how to deal with it right now. So you can behave like that, but it's very easily destroyed. And it's exactly what's required for the platform economy, don't get me wrong, but I think it's very fragile, and I think we should start to think about what leadership looks like in these platforms. And then finally, a story about stories. I think we've got to become much more careful about language. Everyone talks about sharing, everyone talks about all this stuff. Streetcar, I use this example, is not a sharing economy, it's a rent economy, right? And we've got to be very careful about this. And careful in language and also in the truth that we're talking to ourselves. Why do I make that differentiation? There is a big risk that over the next 10 years, we will be moved into a massive rental economy, all of us, where the assets will be held by fewer and fewer people, right? So streetcar, if streetcar is a commercially owned vehicle and it's sold and you will rent it, fractionally rent it, means that you have no assets. You're just accessing those assets. You become revenue vehicles. Whereas if you share an asset, i.e. I share an asset with Vinay and Stern, that's different, right? Because actually we're starting to share assets. So it's generally the asset relationship is different because we are still building resilience by all of us having assets. We're going to have to be very careful about what platforms really mean and who owns these platforms. Because if you're not, we will find ourselves being actually very small, insignificant renters on these platforms with very little power. And that is a genuine risk that we face in the shift towards a platform economy. We haven't really built the 21st century governance. Platforms should be thought of more like states than they should be as corporates. I don't think we've started to imagine what these economies look like. And I don't think we've understood that if we strip away the assets from us as citizens, we'll be left very, very vulnerable to actually any shocks that emerge. That's one of the key threats for us. So there's a great movement coming on, I think, and I think some amazing stuff going on. And lots of innovation. And I talk about this from a Hub Westminster perspective, right? Hub Westminster is a CIC. I worry about its governance. I worry about actually how much influence I have. I worry about the fact that I can nudge things, right? I can influence quite a lot. The first 12 members, I purposely put Vinay, Dougal, and a few other people into Hub Westminster. Why? Not because I agree with them, Vinay knows that, but because actually the plurality of discourse was really important, right? It wasn't about agreeing with me. Now imagine I wanted to create a platform for slowly agreeing with me, how much influence I have in that process. So platforms are incredibly powerful, but there's huge amounts of soft power buried into them that we have very little transparency about. So I'm really, really purposely conscious about how do we build these platform economies and actually what responsibility they put on us to build a whole new form of transparency and discourse in the wider world. I think I'm done. In a sense, I think the future is not a panacea. It's going to bring a hell of a lot of challenges. And I think together, we're going to have to be open to those real difficult questions about what it means for us. At least we get sucked into building our own negative future in a way, which I think the platform economy could be far worse than the corporate economy if we let it go. And I think it requires us to be quite open to those challenges. Thank you.